عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Open your book on chapter 6. The chapter of Masajid. They put you in. تعال. Everyone, chapter of Masajid. We start with Hadith 195, inshallah. يلا يا عبد الرحمن. ها؟ كمان الصفحة عندي 89. عندكم ما بعرف. You have different pages. What page you have? So we have the same. This perfume only for the people who sit in the class. يلا اقرأ يا حبيبي.
باب المساجد. الحديث 95 بعد 100. عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت: أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ببناء المساجد في الدور وأن تنظف وتطيب. رواه أحمد وأبو داود والترمذي وصحح إرساله.
Chapter 6, Mosques. Number 195, narrated Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam ordered that the mosques be built in residential districts and that it be cleaned and perfumed. Reported by Ahmad, Abu Dawood and At-Tirmidhi. The latter considered it mursal, missing link in the chain after the tabi'i, student of a companion.
وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: قاتل الله اليهود اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم مساجد. متفق عليه. وزاد مسلم والنصارى. ولهما من حديث عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها: كانوا إذا مات فيهم الرجل الصالح بنوا على قبره مسجدا وفيه أولئك شرار الخلق.
Number 196, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, May Allah curse the Jews, they have turned the graves of their prophets into mosques. Agreed upon. Muslim added, and Christians. Narrated by Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha in Al-Bukhari and Muslim that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, when a pious person amongst them, the Jews and Christians, died, they used to build a place of worship and prostration on his grave. In the same hadith, those are the worst of creatures.
وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال: بعث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم خيلا فجاءت برجل فربطوه بسارية من سوار المسجد. الحديث متفق عليه.
Number 197, narrated Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent an expedition of horsemen who came back with a man, then they tied him to one of the pillars of the mosque. Agreed upon.
وعنه أي عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه أن عمر مر بحسان ينشد في المسجد فلحظ إليه فقال قد كنت أنشد فيه وفيه من هو خير منك متفق عليه.
Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Umar came over Hassan while reciting poetry inside the mosque and looked at him sternly. Then he, Hassan, said, I used to recite poetry inside the mosque in the presence of the one who is more pious than you. In other words, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, agreed upon.
وعنه رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من سمع رجلا ينشد ضالة في المسجد فليقل لا ردها الله عليك فإن المساجد لم تبنى لهذا رواه مسلم.
Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, whoever hears a man crying out in the mosque about something he has lost, he should say, may Allah not restore it for you, for the mosques were not built for this. Reported by Muslim.
وعنه رضي الله تعالى عنه أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا رأيتم من يبيع أو يتبايع في المسجد فقولوا لا أربح الله تجارتك رواه النسائي والترمذي وحسنه.
Narrated Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, if you see someone buying or selling inside the mosque, say, may Allah not make your trading profitable. Reported by An-Nasa'i and At-Tirmidhi, and the later graded it Hassan. Good.
وعن حكيم بن حزام قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تقام الحدود في المساجد ولا يستقاد فيها رواه أحمد وأبو داود بسند ضعيف.
Narrated by Hakim bin Hizam, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Hakim, sorry. Narrated Hakim bin Hizam, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, neither the prescribed punishments nor retaliations should be executed inside the mosque. Reported by Ahmed and Abu Dawood through a weak sanad chain.
I think stop here. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على عبده ورسوله محمد وآله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أحبتي في الله, we come as we are step by step talking about as-salah. We come to the place of as-salah, and come the word masajid, masjid, come from where? From as-sajda, as-sujud. So this is why we call it al-masjid. So the noun of as-salah or as-sajda come as where you take the place and where you do the salah. So where you offer the salah in a rapid way, continuously, we consider that a masjid. And the masjids are different types. There is a masjid at home. If you go back to your house is being built by you, your grandfather, your fathers, you see they used to have a special room that for as-salah. And they take that from the Prophet time, when some people, especially the women, they used to designate a place to make it specially for their salah. We have many hadith in that that the Prophet ﷺ used to go and bless their places. They call him, ask him, request from him to come and pray in that place, to make it as an opening for that place, to make it a place designed particularly for Salah. And that is not what we are here ruling for. The rules of the mosque is not for that. And there is a marketplace. Again, they used to have a room or designated place for a salah, and they used to call it the market prayer room. Again, it is a masjid, but it doesn't have all the rules of a masjid. There is some areas where the people used to travel in their foot, or by the caravans, or today by the cars between towns. They used to put resting areas, and including in this resting area, an area where you pray. Again, that traveling mosque. Everyone has different rules, but all of them, they have one common thing, that it is a very respected place. And as soon as you open it for the people and you call people to pray in it, it becomes a public place. It's not a private anymore. So remember these two things. What is it? The mosque become not private anymore. So you don't need the permission of anyone to enter the mosque and pray. Secondly, it is very holy and very respected. So you can't treat it as any other thing. And there is the mosque, which designed and has all the rules of the mosque, that it has to be first the 5 salahs prayed in it. So the market mosque or the traveling mosque is not like that. So the market mosque, usually in the working hours, in their time, not in our time today, mashallah. Our time today, working hours is all the hours. But in their time, they used to work maybe to Dhuhr time, Asr time, then they go home. Maghrib and Isha, that mosque will be left alone, no one there. So it doesn't have all the facilities which we are reading today in these ahadith for the mosque. So the general mosque, when we say the mosque, we mean the mosque has all these entitlements of being a mosque, which all the hadith rules on it. What is allowed, what's not allowed, what's halal in it, what's not halal in it, and which the reward of building a mosque of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have the great reward of it, even if it is so small. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala build you a palace in paradise for that mosque you built. So first, I want to grab this opportunity, even before Saturday, to remind you of the great effort you put for building this mosque. You are sitting now in it. And the reward you get by the past, the present, and the future support of that mosque. Because if you build the mosque of Allah, what Allah promised you? To build the house in paradise for you. It's not the Jannah. It's more than the Jannah. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala build a mosque for you in the Jannah, build the house for you in the Jannah, that what means? That you going to enter the Jannah. That guarantee your place in the Jannah. Because if Allah built it for you, you have to own it. And you cannot own it if you don't enter the Jannah. So entering the Jannah become something must. Of course, if you qualified in the other issues, the people could build mosques, but for the show off, like our kings and presidents. But that is different. We are talking about the true believers who build it for Allah or put an effort to build it. Yani none of you build it, but every one of you help to be built. So all of you sharing that building. And there's many more, they are not here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give every one of you and every one of us that promise that you will be from the people of paradise. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty Himself, give a testimony for you and for everyone supporting the mosque by building that mosque and by coming and praying in that mosque. What He said? Yalla boys, come on, don't sleep on me. What He said? إنما يعمر مساجد الله من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر. So who built physically or spiritually? Physically means put the stones and put the walls. Emotionally and spiritually means come and make this place alive. Because without you praying in it, it doesn't worth anything. The mosque is not the building. Doesn't matter how nice and beautiful it is. The mosque is nice of the people in it. And if any of you, just by any way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala show him the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he built it, you say, what is that? Nothing. Mud. There is nothing like that. Decoration, air conditioning, fans, even not a ceiling protect you from the rain or the sun, or nothing like that. But that mosque build the humanity altogether. That mosque change the world altogether. That mosque create people nothing like them, not in the past, not in the future. So don't look at the building. Look at who inhabit these buildings and work in these buildings. Don't be foolish like what the Prophet ﷺ said here about the Christian and the Jew. Worry, and the Muslims unfortunately nowadays following them, worry about the decoration of their mosque, their church, their temple. Goes visit Rome or visit this old Europe and see the churches there, the Katra'iyya there, the huge places of their worship. You see the fine arts, beautiful building. Spend millions of hours and times and dollars on it. But it's empty from any light. And now we are following their tails. We are building the mosque and we don't see this a mosque. A lot of people, unfortunately, they call me and they ask me, is this a mosque? We have to offer 2 rak'ah when we enter this mosque. I say, why it is not a mosque? It doesn't have minaret, it doesn't have dome, it doesn't have nice decoration, doesn't have these chandeliers. You see the chandeliers of Al-Haram? Each one of them by this center altogether. One of them. doesn't make people men. Doesn't make you believer. Yeah, we have the biggest mosque in the world. King Al-Hassan, he built the biggest mosque in the world. So, did this mosque change Morocco? Make the people from Morocco better people? We bring the special designers and we pay them millions of dollars to design now Al-Haram for us. Al-Haram, the best house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we want this and we want that and we want special air conditioning and special light and special I don't know what. This has changed the nation, developed the nation from bad to good, from weak to strong. Does it that? It doesn't. But look at this, the symbol mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. Even the young Sahaba, like Ibn Abbas, as narrated in Al-Bukhari, he used to enter the mosque with his donkey. Like some of you so lazy, he wants to put the car here. If he can, he will drive the car to the door. Ibn Abbas used to do the same. He keep riding his donkey until he reached to the line. Then he jump off the line and jump off the donkey to the line. But he was a little kid, This is the naughtiness of my cousin, radiyallahu anhu. Imagine that. Simple, so simple. Mosque doesn't have walls. Ceiling with a few pillars to carry the ceiling, and ceiling made from asaf al-nakhil. You know asaf al-nakhil, the palm tree, big. It's not leaves, you can't call it leaves. It is special things, too strong, and they use it in the building in that time. But it doesn't stop the sun coming or the rain coming. It makes a nice shade. Already has ventilations and the air can go through it, which always make you fresh. But that mosque, even once the Prophet ﷺ was praying and the goat come through, and he kept walking towards the wall until he put his stomach to the wall, so the goat goes behind him. That's simple. But that mosque, as I said before, changed the whole world. Create a nation, nothing like it. And this is what we want. We don't want to worry about buildings. We don't want to be like that king of India, waste all the money of India on building Taj Mahal. We don't want that. That is very foolish of us to think that way. Even when I was in India, they told me, go to visit. I said, I'm not going to go and witness on a foolish act done by a foolish king, which destroy India after that. Simple, nice, occupied by, as Allah called them, Rijal, real men. Nothing can stop them from praying and performing the salah and iqah and paying the zakah and making the dhikr of Allah. And this is what the mosque is built for. We want to see the people who come little bit early to open the book of Allah and look in it and read a few pages. Make that the best dhikr. The best dhikr is the recitation of Al-Quran. After salah finishes tasbih in a very peaceful manner. Not as soon as we say Assalamu alaikum, alaikum assalam, everyone start to talking to everyone. Boo, 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 boo. That is not the mosque we want. That means we didn't understand yet the message of the mosque. What Allah said, في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه. Houses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala command us to build. So building a mosque is a command. It's not something you can or you cannot, up to you. No. It is a must for every Muslim to be around the mosque. And this is one of the reality we are missing nowadays. The mosque on one side and we are on the other side. So how we can revive the mosque is if we are so far from the mosque. We cannot do that. Yani be real. You live 20, 15, 30 minutes drive. Can you come every salah? That's impossible. Even if you want to, you find it so difficult. Come tired from work, you need a lot of energy and a lot of effort and a lot of will to do it. And this is why go and visit any of our countries, any of our countries. What you find? You find a main big mosque in one area. Like we say, this Markaz is between Roxbury Park, Meadow Heights and Broadmeadows. A big one. And that's what they call it, Al-Masjid al-Jami'. What they call it? Al-Masjid al-Jami'. The main mosque. Al-Jami' means the mosque which gather the people. But that mainly they make it for the people surrounding them. But in the Jum'ah and in the Eid, if the people cannot pray outside, they pray in that mosque. But for the Jum'ah, that mosque is the only mosque will be open. The rest of the mosques will be closed. But what you find, again, in every street of your suburb, a small mosque. That for what? For the 5 salahs. In every street, wherever you turn, you find a place to pray. If you are a stranger, wherever you head, you will find a mosque. So you don't have any headache where I am going to pray. And I went to Istanbul last year. I heard the adhan. But the adhan coming from here and from here and from where we pray. He said, just go right. And we went right, and the mosque was behind the hotel. Just a few meters of the hotel. And if you go left, you find another mosque too. And if you go straight, you find another mosque. And if you go back, any way you go, you will never miss a mosque. Because they know you have to build these mosques to make it easy for the people. And not only for the adults who can drive, but even for the young people. For the woman next door to her house. She jump, pray and come back. While she's cooking, while she's cleaning her house. Not if she go to the mosque, khalas, the day is finished. Like what's happening here. So this is why we have to have these mosques. These mosques is like the water and the tap opening for us to survive. When we need the water, we find it. But if we don't connect the taps with the main supply of the water, we don't have taps, doesn't bring water. So the main supply of your heart, your spirit, is your mosque. Imagine if we put the water only in this area. and everyone has to come and fill water. How difficult you find it? It's very difficult. So the first hadith, even it is mursal, and what mursal means? Yalla boys, I explained it before. It's a weak hadith. When we say mursal, means it is not authentic. Unless we find another chain to support that chain, then together, join them together, we make from these two hadith one authentic hadith. So, that saying, we being commanded to build the mosques. We being commanded to look after the mosques. Not just build it and leave it, no. We being commanded to clean the mosques. We being commanded to perfume the mosques. We being commanded to light the mosques. And this is why, if you go back to our tradition, you find the business people used to make waqf, special trust for the oil supplies to the mosque. So I say, I supply the mosque for 1 year. So they put the money for that, or they buy the oil and put it in the mosque for that year. I supply the candles. I supply the perfume. I clean the mosque. A lot of you make the mosque dirty, they don't clean it. One of the girls, she was a slave girl. And her job was to clean the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. And the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ wasn't as small as this mosque. It was a big mosque. It was 70 by 70 yard, which is about 40 by 40 meters. 40 meters long and 40 meters wide. That's a big mosque. And alone she used to clean it. And imagine mosque, not carpet. It was from the dirt. So the ground is dirt. As I said to you, cleaned from what? I told you before. The donkeys used to pass, the dogs used to pass, the human, the children. And we don't have nabis in that time. You remember that? Don't forget that. So when the woman come with her child, there's no nabis, huh? He might do it in the... So she cleaned the mosque from any mess. After that, she died. And it happened that she died in the night. Like our brother Nabil, his father, just passed away a few minutes ago. May Allah shower mercy in his soul. So the Sahaba didn't take so much notice of her. The woman washed her and the men buried her. The second day, the Prophet ﷺ noticed something, that the mosque is not as clean as it was. He asked about her. They say, "Oh Prophet of Allah, she died last night and we don't want to bother you, and we buried her without telling you." And the Prophet ﷺ was so angry on that. You belittling this woman? She used to do the great job in Islam, cleaning the mosque. He said, "Take me to her grave." And he prayed on her grave to honor her and to show you how important for you to come one day and say, "Sheikh, I want to vacuum the mosque. Tomorrow is Friday. I want to put some perfume so when the brothers and the sisters come to the mosque, they smell a nice smell. Not your sweat and your dirty foot and your shoes and this. No. They have to come to the mosque and feel a lot of difference. And the smell, my dear brothers, the nice smell, open your hearts, calm your soul. It is a key to make you concentrate on your salah. Imagine yourself pray beside someone has, mashallah, a nice odor, in the opposite. How you feel? Can you concentrate on your salah? Maybe you curse Abdul Rahman if he make it long. Say, come on, خلصني, I want to finish. But if you pray beside someone has a nice smell, how you feel? You don't want the salah to finish, so you want to stay beside him. So look after yourself. As the Prophet ﷺ said, كونوا كالشامة بين الناس. Be like a special gem between the people. Everyone notice you. Everyone see you are different. Different in a good way, not in a bad way. So this is the mosque. So what you need to know, if this is a mosque or not, what we said, the 5 salah established in it, it is open for any Muslim to pray. So you don't need the door closed, my permission to pray. That is a private now. It's not a public place. Mosque has to be a public place for any and every Muslim to come in the salah time, of course, not out of the salah time. Except Al-Haram, the Prophet ﷺ said that no one allowed to stop anyone coming to it any minute of the day or the night. That especially for Al-Kaaba. Why? Because the Kaaba is a special place. There's no place like it. So that has to be open 24 hours, all the time, all the year around, for anyone wants to pray. And you have to take the visa from the embassy here. Other than that, the other mosques is in the salah time, it has to be open. And now, unfortunately, some of the countries, they don't open the mosque until the adhan come. They open it, salah finish with the imam, they close it again. That is haram and not allowed. The mosque has to be open from Fajr to Isha time for anyone wants to pray. I leave you with few questions. Then we talk about other topics. There are so many topics to talk about actually here, but I'm trying to symbolize the matter for you, answer some of the wiswas in your hearts about the mosque, and then I leave the question for you maybe to ask for other things. Huh?
He put his hand first.
I give you the right, then you do it. Don't be a lawyer for others. Okay. Yallah, Bismillah. Who put his hand first? You? Yallah.
He's saying mosque. Where does this mosque come from? He made his head up. How did this name mosque?
This is why I avoid to say mosque, because I don't want to answer your question. That some people, they spread that mosque come from mosquitoes and this, that is unrealistic conclusion. Every language has its own figures. And when you translate something, maybe they get it out of some of their language, then everyone copy that language. Because the main languages in the world are few. The rest of the languages built from these main languages. So for the European language, there's mainly what we call it Latinic language, the old Greek language. It's not Greek, it's Latin. So this is the main language for all these European language. They add to it, minus from it, and they steal from here a little bit. And like English, if you see the English, which is the language we speak, you find it made from maybe 10 different languages. And this is why you see some letters are silent, some way you say it somehow and you write it different how, because it is not original language. The original language, you don't see that in it. So we don't say from where they say Rajul is a man. The same question I'm asking you. From where they get that? Can you say mosque? Okay, I may give you a simple thing. A man. From where they make it? This is their language. They make a man, they make a woman. That's how they build languages. So these questions, people sometimes they get suspicious of everything, and that is not right. If we have real finding of why they make it, then we talk about it. Otherwise, anyhow, use masjid and don't use mosque. If you find it in your head with a lot of waswas, don't use it. And we shouldn't use it anyhow in the first place. Every Muslim should know the mosque is a masjid. We call masjid Masajid. Yes, Habib.
Mine's not really a question, it's kind of a statement. So obviously you said we want to live in some open and we'd love to live in some open, especially after Fajr for the brothers who'd like to stay. But unfortunately because we have a brother and we have a responsibility to look after it as well, and he's given me that responsibility to make sure that goes well. I have to make sure that everyone leaves because we can't, unfortunately, no one else has the keys and we can't just give keys to everyone else that comes to the mosque.
Okay, don't please bring Sha'ban ala Ramadan. We accept that. Sufyan.
Nowadays, some Muslims, they come from different states, they sleep in the mosque. Is it haram?
We come to that inshallah in the next, but it is not haram. If you respect the mosque, there is nothing wrong of sleeping in the mosque. If you respect the mosque. But if you cook inside and dirt the whole place, and when you sleep, mashallah, your odor cover even the most beautiful perfume in the world, no, then you go sleep somewhere else. But if you sleep and you have all the normality with you, there's no harm. No harm. As I said to you, what is the mosque? There is no difference between musalla and mosque, except that if the musalla, we call it musalla only for one reason, that they don't pray 5 times, they don't have imam, they don't have regularity in it. It's an open room for, like the shopping center open room. Now in Broad Meadows, they open a room for the salah. You don't know about it? Okay. They open a room there. That only for these hours, which is from 8 to 6, for example. So 8 to 6, usually now in summer, we only pray 2 salah, Dhuhr and Asr. In winter, maybe we pray Maghrib, but we don't pray Isha and Fajr. So it is a musalla. We call it a musalla for that purpose. It is without of course they don't put an imam to lead the salah. It's an open place for comforting the Muslim that who wants to pray in that time while he's shopping or she pray. The same as in the hospitals or somewhere else. That we don't call it a masjid. It's not a masjid. Linguistically, you can call it a masjid because you make sujood in it, but we don't give it the ruling of the mosque. No, musalla, I said it's not a masjid. Only in the masjid you pray 2 rak'ah.
Bible, Christians and Jews, and anyone wants to pray. But I prayed inside the room. Okay? They make it special for prayer and for anyone. Any religion.
And this is what they call it, multi-faith rooms, like the airport, the same thing. No problem. You can pray in the church anyhow. And even if it is a church, and if some of you stuck, unfortunately we don't have mosques in the city, a lot of them, and you stuck somewhere and you find a church, go and pray in the church. It's a private place, nice place to pray in it. It's a public place actually, not a private.
Today, there's a lot of masjid or mosques that are actually divided along ethnic lines. There's a lot of politics going on. Even in the mosque, like the president gets in as a president for life. What is the proper way of running the mosque?
Mosque doesn't need a president or a chief or anything. It needs, mainly the mosque is built for, of course, the mosque, everything in our life. We don't want to make it as the church. Qaisar out of the church, and inside the church there's no Qaisar. We don't have that. You understand Qaisar? Yani no politics in the mosque, politics out of the mosque. That Islam doesn't believe in that. And we're going to that anyhow. When we talk about the mosque and the hadith coming to the mosque, we see that the mosque is for everything in our life. We make ruling in the mosque. We make community efforts in the mosque. We make an army in the mosque. We lead the people in the mosque. We do everything in the mosque. But again, president and no president, this is, a mosque is not for that. The main figure in the mosque is the imam. And we should choose carefully our imam. He has to be very well educated person, has the sense of responsibility, understanding of the surrounding where he is. He doesn't give khutbah about Al-Andalus while he is in Australia. We are in Australia, not in Al-Andalus now. We are not talking. So these things, and this is why the imam has to be very well educated to understand his responsibility and how to lead the people. Otherwise, we are doing a major mistake in our life. And actually, this is why we are here. We are here because, here I mean in the backward of everyone, in the tail of the caravan, because the mosque is not our leader. Our leaders outside of the mosque, and most of them doesn't pray even. When we make the mosque is first priority in our life, and the imam is our real leader. And this is why you see, if you go back to our tradition books, like Al-Bukhari for example, when he wants to talk about وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, and he said أُولِي الْأَمْرِ are the scholars of the ummah. Who's أُولِي الْأَمْرِ? The presidents and the chiefs? No, the scholars. And the other tradition of the Prophet ﷺ said, you want to know the best scholar? You see, the amirs come to them. And the worst scholar who go and stand in the amir's door. So the best amir who come to the scholar, and the worst scholar who goes to the amir. To show you, if we do that, we make the leadership upside down. If the sheikh goes to the amir, then the thing become like that, upside down, because it should be that. Everyone should see it that way, and everyone should do it that way. And this is why you see our scholars, the great or a small of them, they never go to the amirs or presidents or whatever call them. In the opposite, they used to come to them. And this is when the Ummah was in the top of the world. When they change it, the Ummah turn it upside down and they become upside down. The whole world up and they are down. So this what you are claiming politics and this, in reality it's not politics. It is ignorance. It is following our desires. I said it to one of the brothers that until you see your sheikh in the top of the moon and you want to climb up to him to benefit of him, you will never be a great man. As soon as you believe and you feel that, who's the sheikh? I can know, I can find out, I can ask anyone. The Ummah will never go back to its glory with this attitude at all. And anytime you want to open a page of a history, go and open it and see yourself. When the Amir turned to the Sheikh, you see the Ummah return to its glory. When the Amir put the Sheikh aside or put him in jail, as what they do today, then you see what the situation of the Ummah. You remember Muhammad al-Fatih? We give a big story about him. You remember the story of Muhammad al-Fatih? How he became Muhammad al-Fatih? By sitting in front of his sheikhs and learn. And once, as a young boy, he was a young boy, but he feel he is the Sultan's son. He doesn't want to listen to his sheikh. His sheikh built him. And he went crying to his father, look at that sheikh. And the father come and kiss the hand of the sheikh. Jazakallah khair. And he said to him, if he returned to his naughtiness, hit him harder. He grew with the sheikhs. And this is how he became the conqueror. He wasn't a conqueror because he was in the Monte Carlo casinos and Washington pubs, and no, that will never bring you a conqueror for anything, not even for yourself. You want to be something, this is how you have to be. Harun al-Rashid has one of the, he once, Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, the great king, one of the greatest king in history. He sent to Imam Malik a letter. My dear Sheikh, I want you to come and teach my kids private lessons. And this is the kids of a Khalifa. And he sent him a letter saying, since when the knowledge of the Prophet ﷺ become private? If you want to teach your kids, you send them. You know what? Send them from Baghdad to Medina, not send them to my school here, 5 minutes drive. No. He has to send them to a strange town for months sitting alone without anybody with them. And the Khalifa said, yes, this is how it should be. And I'm sorry I asked for other way. He sent them to learn from Imam Malik in Al-Madinah. As any other student, they're sitting there as anyone of the student. And if they make a mistake, he will give them, hammer them in a way they never forget it. This is how they become great people. These students, they become great people. They become great leaders. They conquered the world after their father. Harun al-Rashid is his grandson of Ja'far, the son of Al-Mahdi, who learned from Al-Imam Malik. He learned the same way from his father. He was a scholar himself. And once he invited some of the scholars and they eat with him. One of them was blind, so he doesn't know how to wash his hand. And Al-Khalifa himself poured the water on him. And he said, "Oh son, easy on me." He doesn't know who was pouring the water. He thinks one of the children serving the guests. And he said to him, "You know who's pouring the water on you?" He said, "No." He said, "Al-Khalifa himself." That's the real Khalifa. When you see him washing the hands of the Sheikh. And he was real Khalifa. That Khalifa, he used to write to the main power in that time. When they want to break the treaty with him, he said, from Abdullah Harun to the Duke of the Rome. The Duke of the Rome, yani the president of the Rome, the emperor of the Rome. He didn't call him emperor, he said to the Duke of the Rome. That's what you can do when you are a real student of your Sheikh. But these stupid people, they think if you show yourself big, you show yourself this, you show yourself, you can do, you don't do anything. How many kings and presidents we have nowadays? Only for the Muslim Ummah, we have more than 50, 55 or 53 or 54. What they do to the Ummah? The Ummah slaughtered all around the world, and the maximum they do, they send a letter, objection letter to the Council of UN or whatever, United Nations. Harun Rashid didn't send a letter like that. He said, the answer, what you see, not what you hear. Oh, the Duke of Rome. Imagine that. They can't say that to even the ambassador of any of these Western countries. These 55 president and kings. They can't. Not even to the ambassador. You see the difference? That's the difference. The difference when we see the mosque and the imams of the mosque is something so special in our life. Then our life will be changed completely. Jazakumullah khair. Like you didn't hear what I said. I said it is waqf. As soon as you open it for the public, it become a public owned. It's waqf. You understand what waqf? That a trust for the ummah. Of course, the legal system has to work with you. Nowadays, the legal system in the West is different. Nothing called public. Everything is private, owned. But we work around it by making the system work for our favor. So when we say it is private, but it's owned by, for example, 10, 15, 20, 30, as we put in the board here, we put about 25 people. To make it somehow not private. But the law doesn't allow to say it is belong to the whole people of Australia or the Muslim community. Who's the Muslim community? They need someone to be responsible. And this is why sometimes we have to close it. Sometimes we don't allow people to sleep in it. Not because it is haram, because legally we are responsible for them. So if any of you injured here, I am responsible for that. You go to the hospital send me the bill. And the police come and sit with me and interrogate me. Why this happened, how this happened, where is the safety, where is this, where is the insurance, all that. And this is how the system works. And we cannot create our own system. We have to deal with the system we are in. So we take these precautions sometimes to protect you and at the same time protect us. Better than to say, oh, it is public, and then the government will close it the second day. If no one say, I am responsible, they will not give it to you. In the first place, you have to apply for a license to open it, and that license has to be in the name of somebody. You understand that? When we sign the lease, it has to be signed by some people. We cannot call the whole Muslim community to sign it. I wish I can. But that anyhow, in the first place, it's impossible. The people will not sign it. If I call the people of the Jummah today and say, people who pray the Jummah, come and sign the lease with me, they run from the window, not from the door. The Sheikh has, he wants to make us liable for this. And this is why we have to be, as you say, running with the system and try to make, and this is why we said we need the wise, intellectual people who run the organization. People understand where they are. Say we have to apply the Sharia. The Sharia has to be applied according to where you are, as much as you can, in the way you can. See somebody else. To sell and buy in the mosque, even though there's a discussion between the scholars about it, because some of the scholars doesn't see these ahadith as an authentic ahadith, so they make it as there's nothing say it is haram. When there's nothing say it is haram, it become automatically illegal. You can't do it. The scholars, which the Imam Ibn Hajar, one of them, and the As-San'ani is one of them, and I am one of them. Not I am putting myself in their shoes, but I am their student somehow. They accept these hadith, and they say you shouldn't make transactions in the mosque. You shouldn't make it. And avoid it, even though the transaction itself is halal. But you are committing a haram by doing that. So if you sell someone, it is not affected by the emotion of being in the mosque. It is halal, but you copped the fine for doing that. Talk about it different. You can talk about it, but you can't make it. That coming in the next section. Why are you rushing? If we talk about everything now, then we don't need to read the next part of the hadith. Abu al-Hasan. لا علاقة فيها. هذا ليس له، هذا عمل خيري ليس له علاقة. حمودة. Because that is part of disrespect of the mosque. Raising the voice in the mosque is haram. And this is, as the Prophet ﷺ said, it is part of the signs of the hour. When the people ethics and moral goes down, they start to raise their voice up in the mosque. So of course, when you want to say, I lost something, please, who find my watch, bring it back, that is a disrespect for the mosque. The mosque is not for that. As we said, we have to understand what our duties inside the mosque. The tranquility of the dhikr and the salah has to be in everything we do. And if we don't do that, and we raise our voice for what I lost, what I find, what I this, what I that, then we are losing that tranquility between us. We're losing the meaning of the salah. Because why we pray? To get that blessing. It's not only an exercise we do. If you want to do exercises, the gym is there for the exercises. Here is to pray, is to carry your soul up to the heaven, to lift your manners and morals up high, not to any humanity level.
It's okay to wrestle.
It's okay to wrestle in the mosque? No, it's not okay. How many times I say to you, don't wrestle in the mosque? Still asking the question? You think here I changed my fatwa, yani? Again, my answer now is different than my answer in a Muslim country. Even the Muslim country, they kill you if you do that. But the mosque here has different rules than in our countries. So you can wrestle in the mosque. There is no harm of that, if you don't make the noise and other issues which come with the wrestling. But in nowadays here in Australia, in Melbourne, in this mosque, you can do that. For the same reason I told you before, that I am liable for your action. In other mosques around the world, if you go to Turkey and wrestle, you are responsible for your action. The people will build you, not me. But here they built me and you. This is why I have to stop you from doing that. That's the difference. This is why, again, I say you have to understand where you are and what type of laws apply on you, to understand how the rules of Islam goes with you. You remind me of some of our brothers in Al-Madinah Al-Nabawiyya. So they learned the hadith that خالف اليهود والنصارى وصلوا بأحذيتكم. So the hadith saying, go in the opposite of the Jewish and the Christian and pray in your shoes. So they went in the Masjid al-Nabawi to pray in their shoes. This is hadith sahih, everyone agree on it. And the people who cleans there, they have, mashallah, very nice sticks with their mobs. And they give them the building they never ever forget until now, maybe, if they're still alive. So I said, why we are doing the sunnah? Don't do the sunnah here, do it somewhere else. Go do it. So you have to understand how the people will see it. The people will not see it, you are practicing the sunnah. The people will see it, you are humiliating the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. And this is why they got angry on you, and the police interfere in it, and it was a big story. The Mufti himself has to interfere and save these people, otherwise there will be pieces. So we have to understand where we are, what type of environment. We have to educate the people before The carpet there is more expensive than any car, and you come to with your dirty shoes to pray on. The mosque of the Prophet ﷺ didn't have in that time that beautiful carpet and thousands of cleaners cleaning even the little dust coming. You know how the people feel about the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ. They think even this tiles coming from the Prophet time, even the dust is a holy dust. And imagine you come with your shoes and they see you, they kill you. So we don't want to do that. We don't want to say it is sunnah, it is sunnah. But how to apply this sunnah, there are so many things you have to go with you. Otherwise, you are bringing more harm than good. And you are bringing more damage to yourself and to your society and to the nice frame of Islam, nice frame of Sunnah. Of course, these people, they refuse even this is a hadith. No, the Prophet will not say that. Oh, you put them in a position where they reject even the Sunnah because of their protection. They are so jealous, so protective over the Prophet ﷺ mosque, and they think this is how they protect it. So you have to understand your people and where you are before you do anything. Otherwise, you become the loser.
Sheikh, a bit of a situation a couple of fudges ago. The projector was on, and then after Salah, one of the brothers got up and was quite upset about this fact that the projector was on while we were praying. He said this is an image and we shouldn't have images, this and that. And images in the Salah, etc. Like in the Musalla. So, he was quite displeased about it. Can you comment on this situation? The projector itself,
Yeah, look, again, I might agree with him, I might disagree with him. This is not the issue. The issue, we have to understand why this was on. And it's something not in our hand. We lost the remote control, we couldn't turn it off. And in the same time, the image is of your back. There's no faces here. And the main issue in Islam, if the picture, is the face, as the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الصُّورَةُ الرَّأْسِ. So if there is no face, as the projector take your back, doesn't take your face when you are praying. Yani now look at it. How many faces there? Huh? One face. So if I turn, the face goes. So when you are praying, even if it is on and we leave it on in Salah, you don't have any face on the Salah. If there is faces, I would be 100% with him. But in the same time, if I understand the reason why we couldn't turn it off because we misreplaced the remote control, and we can't do much about it unless we go and break it, then we say, Alhamdulillah, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Yani you could simply just go and pray there. It doesn't make any. This is why I said we need the people who are dynamically try to solve issues with some of the brothers, and sometimes it is not an issue which you have to argue about. Okay, brother, go step and pray here and no image at all. Pray just behind it and that's it. Isn't it? There's no screen, is empty. There's no picture at all. So this is how you should be working with your brother. And this is when you understand your ummah mentality. We have people, alhamdulillah, coming from different backgrounds, different understanding, different culture. So, and we have to accommodate as many as possible. We cannot accommodate everyone, but as many as possible. Especially the people of Fajr. This is a special people for us, and we should look after them. جزاكم الله خير وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله محمد وآله وصحبه وأذن للصلاة يرحمه.